This is a Dude Studios production. And hey, I'm the Dude. Welcome back to Hey Bartender Podcast. I am your bartender for the evening. You can call me the Dude or you can call me Anthony. Depends on how well you remember people's names. Today, I got a very special guest. She is a makeup artist, comedian, server. She's a very, very strong advocate for equal pay, equal rights for people working in the service industry. Her name is Alex Torres. I got to tell you guys now, she is a real firecracker. Listen to the stuff she says. She's very passionate and she talks really fast. So some of you might think that you have your iPads or iPods, whatever you're listening to at double speed. No, she's actually talking like that. But everything she has to say is really important. But we got to start off with the drink special for today. And today's drink special comes from the Drink Assassin on Instagram. Drink_assassin. They came up with a drink that I found interesting called the Strawberry Moscow Mule. The ingredients go as follows. Strawberry simple syrup, bottle of ginger beer, lime juice, vodka, single strawberry for garnish. You need a homemade simple syrup in order to make this. And this is how they make their simple syrup. Now, everything else pretty much goes along the lines with the regular Moscow Mule. But they suggest for a homemade simple syrup, you add sugar and water to a pan and create a basic simple syrup. Add a cup of strawberries and muddle with simple syrup. Simmer for 10 minutes, then strain into another cup or bowl. So it's another flavored Moscow Mule for you guys. They're really popular nowadays. And, quite frankly, I feel sorry for a lot of you restaurants because Moscow Mules get served in those really awesome copper cups. And I bet you guys have a really, really hard time keeping those in stock. Stick around for about midway through the show. We give Alex a little bit of a break and we play music by Tally Hall. You'll want to stick around for that. But until then, Laura Hope and the Arctones, please help me get this started.
Hey bartender, pass me a drink. The reason that I'm here is I need time to think all the ways of the world.
Yeah, thank you for coming on Hey Bartender Podcast. I've been watching your TikTok videos. I've been watching your Instagram feed and all that sort of thing. You're doing a great job out there. So why don't you do me a favor, introduce yourself to my listeners.
Okay, hey, so my name's Alex. I've been in the industry for 15 years, since I was 18. I started TikTok last year, like right before the pandemic hit in January. I started off doing skits. So I have my Alex Serves. I started off doing my skits, like Karen videos. They're all real life stories. They're all things that really happened to me because I was serving in Florida, all corporate chains for all that time. I have a lot of stories to tell. So I just reenacted them because I love acting. And my mom used to always tell me, like, you should write all your stories down. Like, you should do stand-up comedy with all your stories. They're so funny. And I'm like, no, they're really annoying. All these people are so annoying.
Yeah,
I saw.
I'm sorry. I saw on your Instagram you put yourself down as a makeup artist, comedian, server, all that sort of thing. So you're a woman of all trades, sounds like.
Yeah. I went to school for beauty and special effects makeup in 2008.
Oh, cool.
So I went to college, and then after college, I was studying pre-med. I wanted to be a plastic surgeon. I went to like high school. That was like a pre-med, like preparing me for medical school. And I was shadowing plastic surgeons and I wanted to do all that, but I was really bad at science. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. And I kept like struggling through biology and chemistry and everything. And I was hostessing at a restaurant while I was in college. And I always like had my makeup done and everything. And one of the other hostesses was like, why don't you try going to makeup school? My son's girlfriend works at Universal Studios doing makeup there. And she went to the school in Orlando. And I was like, oh, what is it? And so I went on a tour and I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do. Like, I've always loved acting. I've always loved like being on set. Like, I've always wanted to act. And all that. But then I was like, I feel like my time has passed. Maybe I should do
Nah.
something behind the scenes. So I was like, oh, let me become a makeup artist. I really just wanted to be a plastic surgeon for the blood and the gore. That's really all I just wanted to cut into people. So when
okay.
when I could play around with the fake blood and gore, I was like, great. So I graduated college and I went to school for that. And then I like freelanced, and I did end up working at Universal, worked for Halloween Horror Nights, worked for Grinchmas. And then, but through all of that, I still waited tables because it's really hard to become an artist. You know, even everybody that I worked with at Universal all still were serving tables and doing other jobs. I actually got called for like the first season for Face Off. But then, you know, they got big names to be the judges. So they just ended up getting bigger names to be the contestants. The person who won the first season was a teacher at my school who had already worked on films and everything. So, yeah. And then I just kept serving, and throughout all that, I really like serving though. So I know I bitch about it. Everybody bitches about it, but I'm like, you know, it's really the corporate greed that makes you hate it.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that,
yeah,
you would love it. Yeah.
So you were able to keep going with your passion, but all because you were working serving tables. You're still able to now to continue with your passion and do things like makeup artistry and all that sort of thing. Do you still do that now along with your?
Well, I just moved to San Diego during the pandemic. So I moved from Orlando to San Diego last June 14th. So I haven't been able to do anything yet while I've been here. But while I was in Orlando, yeah, I was working at Universal, and I was freelancing for you know, events or weddings. I worked for TV station, the Spanish TV station Telemundo, because I'm Puerto Rican. So I did that. My dad would bring artists. He's an event producer, so he would bring artists from Puerto Rico, and then I would do their makeup for their shows and stuff. So that was cool, and I love the fact that I can serve and have the flexibility to do that and to be able to work on whatever I needed to work on and still make great money, make full-time money at part-time hours. Right. It's amazing. So yeah, I definitely. And then now with, you know, the whole TikTok thing, it gives me the flexibility to be able to do that too without, and I hate 9 to 5s. I hate sitting behind a desk. I mean, I've worked as a receptionist at a salon. I've worked as, you know, a medical assistant. I've done all this stuff, and I'm like, I would watch the clock, the time go by. I was like, I cannot do this. I need to be around people. Yeah. I need the energy from other people.
Yeah, I've been having that trouble lately too. I haven't been working in a restaurant for quite a few years, and right now I work on wind energy. And there are times where I'm like waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. This sucks. I used to, you know, and for some reason I used to love waking up at 2 and going to work. Waking up at 5 and going to work, it's different. I don't understand it, but it's
not as fun.
But you had a great passion. Were you able to make money with both jobs, or did you have to do an apprenticeship while working for Universal or anything like that?
So my first year out of makeup school, I took a year off from working from 2008 to 2009. I want to say May. Yeah, I graduated in May of 2008. So I took a year off to try to freelance and like get my name out there and stuff. And then 2009 hit, and I was like, okay, got to start paying off the student loans. So I was like, got to get a job now. But it's just hard because in Orlando, everybody wants everything for free. And I mean, that also plays into my serving stuff. Everybody wants everything for free. Nobody wants to pay for anything. And it was just really hard to get paid to do stuff. They're like, oh, they all wanted to just trade. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. Like, you are nobody. So like, what are you going to do for me? I'm just like doing all this just to build my portfolio. So I did all that, and then it got frustrating because it was just hard to really, you know, get paid to do it. And then the other thing that factors into it is the fact that I grew up Seventh-day Adventist, so I would observe the Sabbath. So from Friday night sundown to Saturday night sundown, I didn't work, which is very big in both the service industry and the makeup industry. So I was losing out on a lot of money because of that too, and a lot of jobs. I had an interview for the Golf Channel that I couldn't take because of it. So like I had so much work that I turned down because of my beliefs. And it was frustrating, but like I just feel so passionate about what I believe in that like I was like, I can't turn my back on what's always worked for me, because even though it felt like I was losing out on a lot of jobs or money or whatever, I've always been blessed with money. Like I've never had an issue of, when I would serve, I would work less than, I wouldn't say less, but I wouldn't work the weekends because of it. And I would make more than my coworkers. So I was like, it's working for me. So I don't want to turn my back on it, but like, I know there's a reason, but it's also frustrating because I want to do all this stuff. So it was like a battle my whole life of like what I want to do and what I should do and what's right and what's not. So it's been difficult, but I feel like every decision has just led me to where I am now. So I'm like, I'm just grateful for it. But I did, once I finally got the job at Universal, I was very, very, very persistent because I applied a lot. And unless you know somebody, it's really hard to get in. It's a very tight-knit community, the makeup artist industry there. I pretty much went to the interview and I had just gotten fired from Carrabba's. I used to work at Carrabba's. I don't know if you know what it is. It's an Italian.
No.
It's with sorry, this is so loud over here. It's with Bloomin' Brands, so it's owned by Outback is partnered with it, you know. It's like that same thing. I had just gotten fired from there. I had just gone through a breakup and had just lost all my friends that I worked with at Outback, whatever. They like, we all just had like a whole thing. And I was like at rock bottom. I was like, what am I going to do now? And I was like laying in bed and I was like, I applied at Chili's because I saw they were hiring. And then I applied at Universal because I was like, who cares? Like, why not? You know, I got a call from both of them. So then I went to Chili's, I got hired on the spot. And then I went to the Universal one and she was like, I was showing her my portfolio and she's like, oh, do you do airbrush? Because they only did airbrush. And I didn't learn airbrush in school. So I was just like, oh yeah,
of course. And the answer has to be yes when you want the job.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, for sure. And she's like, okay, great. Can you just send me some pictures? And I was like, yeah, no problem. I left. I was in the parking lot Googling like where to find an airbrush machine. I like found somebody on Craigslist that was selling some cheap one. I bought the makeup for it. I did 12 makeups in 2 days. I got all my friends to like, I was like, I need to do zombie makeup. And they're like, okay. I like did everybody's makeup. I sent it to her by the like 2 days later. And she's like, oh, thanks for getting them to me so fast. But then I like still wasn't hearing back because they just rehire the same people. They don't really hire outside people, especially if they don't know you. And so I found her on Instagram. I found her on Facebook. I was like messaging her everywhere. I was emailing her and I was like, I really, really want to work here. Like, please let me know. Until finally, I guess I got put last minute because somebody didn't confirm that they were returning or they couldn't get a hold of them. So they put me in at the very last minute. And I finally got in and I was like, oh, thank God. And so I got in and I was able to work that for like 4 years right until I moved. And so that was amazing because I always wanted to work there. I've been going there since I was 13 to all the Halloween Horror Nights. So I was like, oh, I got that under my belt. So I was really excited that I got to do that.
Yeah, I can't count how many times where I've gotten a job and they ask me some question, do you know how to do this? And I'm like, oh yeah, sure, not having a clue in my head. But then when I'm actually doing the job, it's like, oh, I need a break. I'll be right back. And then I'm sitting on the toilet or sitting in my car with the tech manual, just flipping through like crazy. And okay, that's how you do it. And then run back in and go fix the problem, whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But
it was funny because the day before, I had a phone interview first. And the day before the phone interview, I was like, I should look up how to put together an airbrush gun. Because what if they asked me about airbrushing? Because I knew they did airbrush. But I was like, what if they asked me? I don't know anything about airbrush. So I watched YouTube tutorials on how to take an airbrush gun apart and put it back together. And that's literally the only question she asked me. She's like, tell me how to break down an airbrush gun. And I walked her through the whole thing. And she was like, okay, great. I'm like, fuck, I don't even know what I'm talking about. I watched this YouTube video. I was like, thank God I did that.
Yeah, YouTube's handy to learn everything you want to know nowadays.
Oh, nowadays, I tell people, don't waste your money on school. I'm still in debt from this stupid loan. I don't go to school. Watch YouTube. It's a waste. But back in 2008, I didn't have that luxury.
Yeah. I mean, I've made repairs on my motorcycle not knowing what I'm doing, but then pull up YouTube and they show you exactly step by step on how to do it.
Exactly.
And I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. Yeah. But so you served while doing all of this. And well, first of all, I'm just kind of curious. Is there any work that we might have seen your makeup artistry done?
I don't think so. Like nothing's like, I mean, I've done work on like TV show hosts on like the Spanish channel and I don't think so. I mean, unless you've been to Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando, that's pretty much it.
I unfortunately have never been able to make that. I've only been to Universal Studios once in my life. But and that was when Jurassic Park came out. That's how far back it was. But
Yeah.
but working in the service industry, it allows you. Would you agree that it allows you a lot of flexibility to be able to do other passions? Because I've had guests on my show that are aspiring actresses or musicians, and they're able to, if they have a gig or they have some kind of job that they want to do, they're able to ask their boss easily, "Hey, can I have these days off so I can do this?" And it's usually pretty easy for them. Pretty easy for them to make that time. Would you agree with that in most cases?
Oh yeah, for sure. A lot of people ask me, why would I pick the service industry when I can't work two of the busiest days, Fridays and Saturdays? First of all, you need servers to work during the week.
Oh.
You have your entire staff to work those shifts. You don't need me for that. And then second of all, I'm like, first of all, you can't discriminate against me for religious purposes. Like, if you don't hire me because of that, then you're discriminating against me. And honestly, like, it was just so easy. My managers were all like, "You're the easiest schedule to make, copy and paste, to work Sunday through Sunday." And then I would sometimes work, like, at the beginning when I first started, I would always work up until Friday lunch, and I would only have Friday nights and Saturdays off. And then they're like, "You're like the easiest person to schedule." And I always closed every shift so that I could make the money. I was a closer for freaking my entire serving career, like everything. I worked my ass off because I was like, I gotta make up for the days that I'm not working, thinking I wasn't making as much money as them, but I was actually making more. But yeah, and then if I needed the days off, I took a month off. I used to work at Olive Garden. I took a month off to go to LA for a month. And then anytime, I mean, I barely took vacations, but when I did, because it was hard because they're like, "You're a closer, you can't take off." I'm like, okay, I need a break. I haven't had a vacation in 2 years. I barely took any time off, but yeah, it was just so easy to get shifts traded, shifts picked up, give up, pick up, trade, request off. I work with somebody now that does like Disney princess parties, and she's like, "Well, I like it because, I can request those days off and then work whatever other shifts." So it's always good when you have something else going on. It's good when you have, if you have kids and you need to take care of them, then like, "Oh, well, I'll be home with them." But then whoever else comes home, and then I can go to work, and it's just so flexible. I think it's great.
Yeah, so you did work in Florida, and going by the stereotypes and the internet memes, I don't. You may not know this or not. I've taken over the meme or the hashtag "This is a real job," because me as a server, bartender, everybody else in the service industry, they always get at least one customer, whether it's daily, weekly, I don't know, that looks at you and says, "Why don't you get a real job?" And that would, always run needles up my spine, and I'd have to try my best not to shove their plate up their nose. But in your case, you actually had something going on. Would you take the time to explain to them, or would you just kind of just laugh, or what was your usual reaction?
It would depend on the person. I remember one day, I think it was a holiday. We were really busy at Chili's, and the guy stops me and he's like, "So," I think he asked me something like that, like, "Oh, wow, like, you're so busy, blah, blah." And I'm like, "Yeah." And then he's like, "Why are you still doing this? Like, what are you planning on doing?" Everybody, because I look younger than my age, everybody always thinks I'm like in school. They're like, "So what are you in school for?" I'm like, "I'm not in school. I graduated college in 2008. And they're like, "What? You look so young." Yeah. Okay. And your point? And then they're like, "Okay, well," it's like, "So what else are you doing? What's your other job?" I'm like, do you think I get paid a monopoly money? This is real money. Yeah. Like, I make real money. I probably make more than you make, but because I'm trying to get tips, I don't tell people that. I have to like sit here and be like playing dumb and just be like, "Oh yeah, well I actually freelance. I'm a makeup artist." And I would say that stuff too, because I would get a lot of compliments on my makeup too. So I'd be like, "Oh, well, I did spend $20,000 on it, so I would hope so." And then I would say that, and then, "Oh, that's so cool," or whatever. But I would tell people all the time, like, this is a real job. Like, I don't understand what people think. They want they want like high schoolers waiting on them, and then they're going to complain that the service isn't good. Like, what do you want? You can't have it both ways. You can't have a child waiting on you and then expect spectacular service. And then when you have a seasoned veteran server who's been doing it forever be like, oh, why don't you get a real job? Like, what do you want? What do you want? Like,
exactly.
You can have it both ways. Pick a side.
Yeah.
It's so frustrating. It pisses me off. I'm like, you guys couldn't do this. You couldn't work. What I always said, I think that it should be a high school requirement to work at a restaurant, to work in the customer service industry, because it would teach people so much.
Yeah.
So much. I'm like, you can't do it. Try to do my job for one day.
Yeah.
And then come and talk to me.
Yeah, I've been saying that every server, I'm pretty sure, has been saying that for years, that it should be a requirement that you work in the service industry in one way or another for like at least 6 months. And and then you'll understand why you'll understand why your ranch isn't that important, or or what the server's going through, or the server didn't cook the food, the cook did. Why are you yelling at the server for it? Things like that.
Right.
But unfortunately, like I said, it was, it's just stereotypes, things I hear about on the internet. You're in Florida, and I hear that they breed Karens in Florida. But that's just what
if you watch my videos, if you watch my videos on Alex Torres, they're all Karen videos for sure. Everybody would always ask me, there's no way this really happened, did it? And I'm like, yes, all of my stories. I literally put on my bio at one point, yes, it really happened, because I would get the question every day. Did this really happen? Yes, it really happened. These are all true stories. Like, Florida Man is a real thing. The stories that happen, like, people tell me, can't believe it. Even my own managers would be like, things that happen to you. I'm like, I can write a book, or I can make a TV show, or I can make a movie out of the stories that I have from restaurants, because they're crazy. I tell people the stories here in San Diego, and they're like, oh my God, that really happened. I'm like, yeah, you guys are so spoiled here. You guys are so spoiled. You don't know how hard I've worked for the last 15 years just to make $1 or $2. And you guys are sitting here having people throw money at you, and you still want to act like entitled, and you don't even do half the stuff that I used to have to do to make money. I'm like, you guys have it so easy here. Like, I struggled in Florida. It is not easy being a server in a corporate chain in Florida. Oh my God. It's really bad.
Yeah. I had a guest on my show a while back. Her name is Sarah Hester Ross. She's also on TikTok. She's a Las Vegas piano player, and she had this thing. She has this thing. Well, at least she used to. I haven't seen her do it in a while. Where she did Florida Man Wednesday. Oh no, Florida Man Fridays and Florida Woman Wednesdays, and she would tell these stories, about actual people she pulled from the news or something like that. And you have to sit back and wonder, is that really true? But like you said, I've heard from numerous people that lived in Florida. They're like, they're a rare breed out there.
Yeah, I think it's the heat.
Yeah,
I just like the
heat, humidity, maybe.
Yeah. It's hot year round. It's humid year round. You got mosquitoes. It's swampy. It's really, it's raining every day. Hurricane season is from like April, May to November. It rains every single day. You never know what the weather is going to be like. It's like foggy and cold in the morning. It's 100 degrees in noon. It's raining at night, and then raining at 3 p.m. and then cold at night. And you're like, oh my God, you don't know. You have to carry an umbrella and jacket with you everywhere you go, because you don't know what the weather is going to be like.
And then all of a sudden, lightning storms.
Yeah. Hurricane, lightning. I mean, it's crazy. And the people are just, they're nuts over there. They're nuts.
Last time I was in Florida, I went to Walt Disney World with my sister and her family. And there was a lightning storm going on. And all of a sudden, this one tourist decided to hold up a sword in front of Cinderella Castle, screaming, "I have the power." And I'm like, are you sure you want to be around a conductor like that?
No. I've heard stories that people at Disney, when it starts raining, that they're like, can you shut the rain off? And they're like, what? You're outside. We don't control the rain. And like, what do you mean? This isn't inside a dome. I'm like, how do these people reproduce? Like, what are you doing?
People get into the whole the fantasy a little bit too much, I guess.
Yeah, a little too much. I'm like, no, you're outside. The weather happens.
You want the rain to stop and go in and buy something. Yeah.
Yeah, it does suck though. Last time I went to Disney, it was raining all day, and I was like, dang, everything was closed. All the rides were closed, so that sucked.
It only lightning went last time I was there, but I remember feeling wet the entire time, and
Just from the humidity.
Yeah, I'm
It's
I'm
bad.
standing in the sun and I'm thinking that that'll dry me out, but that actually made it worse. But watching my niece, she didn't care about anything. She was like 5 or 6 at the time. She didn't care about anything. She was having a great time. I was like, oh, all right. So just kind of go with it.
When you're that age, nothing matters. But yeah, like I remember just walking out to my car and like already sweating, and I'm like, oh my god, I literally just walked to the car and I'm already drenched in sweat. It's so gross, so bad. But at least there's central AC everywhere, unlike here, which I was gonna die when I got here. And there's central AC.
Okay, I'm going to right now. I'm going to ask you. You've done Karen videos on. Can you give me one example that you can share with my listeners so that they know what to expect if they go look for you on TikTok?
One example of a video?
One of your stories or a story, a Karen story that you talked about, or one that you haven't talked about.
Okay, so my first one that went viral was it was February 17th of 2020. It was like my 6th video that I had posted of my skits. What happened was, it actually happened to a coworker of mine. She was pregnant, and this was at Chili's. So she was pregnant and she was waiting on a table, and she dropped off the check, and let's say the check was like $38. They handed her 40. And they were like, oh, the guy was like, oh, keep the change. Okay, thanks.
One of those. Yeah.
So, so she was like, okay. And so she just, kept on waiting on her other tables. Well, the lady was like, are you going to give me my change back? And she was like, oh, I thought your husband said to keep the change. And she's like, no, we want the change back. And she was like, okay, I'll be right back with your $2. And she was like, ah. And she like got mad that she said that. And so she was like, I want to talk to your manager. So then the manager comes over and she was like, oh, she was so rude. I don't know. She just started going off about her or whatever. And my coworker was just like standing there, like looking at her, like, what the hell's going on? And then the lady was like, don't look at me like that, bitch. I hope your baby dies.
Oh,
and she was pregnant. And I was like, and my manager was like, all right, y'all got to go. And I was like, and so in the video, like you see me, because I was acting out as her, and I don't show that I'm pregnant until the very end, where she was like, I hope your baby dies. And then you see me with like a belly. And I was like, and then that's the video that went viral, because everyone's like, did that really happen? And I'm like, yes, that really happened. And her baby, like, we didn't know if her baby was going to make it because it was having heart issues. And so I was like, for her to say that to her while she was already struggling and she was going through so much stuff with like her marriage and all this stuff. And I'm like, you don't know what people are going through. Like, don't berate your server over some fucking chips and salsa. Like, it's so stupid for you to get so mad over fucking food. It's food. Chill the fuck out. Like, I've had managers like, it's just food, bro. I'm like, people walk into restaurants and they just like lose all their sense of common sense. They don't have values. They don't have respect. I'm like, you guys need to chill out. I call people out on their shit all the time. I'm like, it is just food. Calm down. But that was the video that I made, and that was the one that blew up, and everyone was like, wow, what happened? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that really happened. And then, I mean, mostly everything else was all about stories that happened to me personally, just crazy people like being super rude and stuff.
Yeah, working in the restaurant industry, being pregnant is hard enough. I mean, I've worked with a number of pregnant women when I was bartending, and I used to take good care of them, made sure they sat down, got a couple extra breaks in here and there, and it would be considered inappropriate nowadays. But I'd walk over and give them a back rub, but they never told me stop. But,
yeah, I'm sure they're like, oh, thank God.
But
Rub my back.
But usually their husbands liked me. Their husbands trusted me. So they knew there was nothing going on. I was just, trying to help them out a little bit. But to outright insult a pregnant woman that badly, that's incredible. What kind of life does a person live that insults people like that? I mean,
a very miserable one. A very miserable one. There's a lot of stories like that. It's ridiculous, honestly. Yeah. I don't know how people live with themselves. Why would you say that?
Yeah. That's incredible. But, okay, now flip side of the coin. Is there anything that happened during your career, as a server where it just put a beaming smile on your face for like a day or something like that, where you left just happy?
I did have one table, and this was like, I want to say it was right before the pandemic because it was when I was already filming TikToks. So it was right before we shut down. And I had a table. It was these 3 young kids. And they were by themselves and they were so well behaved and they were so sweet and they were so appreciative for everything. They had the best manners. And I was just like, wow, these kids are so well behaved. Like you don't really see that, especially without an adult around. Mm. And then their bill ended up being like $70 something and they didn't tip me, but I was like, they're so nice. I wasn't even upset about it. They're just so sweet. And they left and I was like, oh, whatever, kept working. Well, their mom ended up coming back like an hour later and she was like, were you my kid's server? And I was like, oh yeah, that was me. And she was like, I am so sorry. They did not tip you. They know better. They should have tipped you. She handed me like $20. And I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. I was like, I just wanted to tell you that your kids are so well behaved. They're one of the best kids like I've ever waited on. And especially without an adult around. And I wasn't even mad that they didn't tip me. And she was like, oh, thank you, but they should have tipped you. and I came home and I made a TikTok and told that story because everybody's always like, oh, you're always telling bad stories. Oh, well, first of all, very rarely do good things happen, in the industry when it comes to, especially at Chili's. So second of all, I was like, well, let me tell this story because it was such a good one. I was like, wow, like very rarely do people really show appreciation for the server. They kind of just expect it. They're very entitled. So I always like it when people are very appreciative and compliment me. I've had a lot of, I tend to get a lot of regulars because they're always like, you're just so attentive and you're just so personable and you always talk to me and blah, blah, blah. And I still have my regulars that still text me to this day. And they're like, we're thinking about you and we miss you. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Miss you guys too. So, and I have them on Facebook or whatever. So it's always nice to build relationships with people. I'm like, oh, they're like my little friends.
Well, that's the way, the sign of a good server or bartender is when you have regulars that will follow you wherever you go. You've talked about working at that other version of Outback you were mentioning earlier.
Carrabba's, which is an Italian place. They're all Italian.
Olive Garden. You've talked about working at a handful of places. Did you have customers that followed you?
Yeah, I'm trying to think about Macaroni Grill. I started off at Macaroni Grill. I was hostessing for the most part there, and then I started serving, and then I went to Olive Garden. I had regulars there, but like some of them were like more. The people that followed me from Olive Garden were like friends. So, but then once I got to Carrabba's, I had regulars, and then the thing is like, because they go to their place that they like, and then they find the server that they like, and then it's hard for them to be like going from Carrabba's to Chili's because it was like an Italian grill, like really like kind of a little better food. And better than Olive Garden for sure, but then the price point was better. But then to go from that to Chili's is kind of hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like we don't like Chili's, but we want to visit you, but like we don't like Chili's. So it's like it's kind of hard. They would come visit me sometimes, and they would like text me, and they're like, "Oh, we're at Chili's. Like, where are you?" And I had a few regulars like from Carrabba's. I would be like, "Oh, we went to Chili's, like, but you weren't there," and I'm like, "Oh, sorry," but like they would ask for me. And then when I would stay in contact with them. But it's just hard when it's like a restaurant that's like, because as a bartender, I feel like it's easier because you're just making drinks. So you're just like, oh yeah, follow me to this place. And then they come and get drinks, but I serve. So they're like, oh, but I don't like the food there, but I still want to visit you. So they like make the sacrifice to go there for me.
Yeah. Switching from Italian food to Mexican food, that's a big leap because I'm sure they were there because they enjoyed the Italian food, but so what exactly is your key to good customer service then? Because it's tough for people to follow a server, like you just said, and so I mean you're obviously you've got a good sense of humor, you're very chatty. What other keys would you give to people for developing a good clientele?
I think that the thing is that I love going out to eat, so I go out to eat a lot. Like I probably go out to eat at least 5 times a week. So that's the only thing I spend my money on besides bills. So I love food and I love restaurants. So I always want to treat people how I want to be treated when I go out to eat. So when I go out to eat and I don't get good service, like I get mad because I'm like, I'm paying to be here. And I'm not one of those servers that's like, oh, I'm a server. Let me tip everybody 30%. Like, no, I work for my money. You need to work for yours. I know how the industry goes. I have eyes. I can observe what's going on. You have one table. Why are you not doing your job? You know what I mean? Like, I'm sorry. I don't play that game. I don't play that game of just giving away my money. I work hard. I work very hard for my money and I make sure I earn my money. And I don't like the entitlement that servers have that think that they should just be given the money. You shouldn't just be giving the money. If you want 20% tips, give 20% service. I mean, I do think that like most of the nation only makes $2 to $5 an hour as a server. So yes, you should be getting tipped, but you also can't just expect it. You have to do the job. And of course, if you're weeded and you're busy, like it makes sense. You know, people aren't going to be that nice and they're not going to tip you. And I think it's so important to be self-aware. I think if I know I did a bad job, I know I didn't earn the tip. I'm like, I didn't earn it. I'm not going to be mad. I'm not going to be mad that they stiffed me. I didn't earn it. I wasn't there. I was so busy. I could not give them the service. When people tip me and I couldn't give them the service, I'm like, oh, they're so nice. Like I didn't even earn that. You know what I mean? But when I give the service and they don't tip me, that's when I get mad because I'm like, I gave you good service. I know I'm very self-aware. I know when I do a good job and I know when I don't do a good job. And so I just I'm that type of person with everything. I just always put myself in the other person's shoes. And I'm like, how would I want to be treated if I was going out to eat? It was hard at first because I used to have a really bad attitude and I used to get a lot of guest complaints because I was just like, you are so stupid. Like I used to just be really rude to people and my manager's like, you can't talk to them like that. I'm like, but they're stupid.
I've gotten that speech quite a few times. Yeah.
And through the years, I learned how to handle things better, how to say things better. And now and then in this last year, kind of taking a break because everything just kind of shut down. It really just made me, I feel like it just rejuvenated me and like I could recharge. And I feel like I'm happy to be serving again. I kind of was like, do I want to keep serving? I thought maybe I could have a different job now, but I just love serving. So now that I'm at work, everyone, even today, my table was like, you're literally the only nice person here. And it was like, oh, thanks. Because nobody ever tells me that I'm the nice one. And they're like, everybody's just so rude. But it was a busy day. Everybody was cranky today. And I was like, I'm just like so happy to be working again and making money. And I work by the beach. I work by the water outside in San Diego. It's beautiful. I'm like, I can't complain at this job. It's amazing. So I'm happy to be there. And I'm like, these people, and I work at a resort. So I'm like, these people are paying money to stay here and our prices are not cheap. So I'm like, I'm not going to be rude to these people who are paying so much money to be here. Like if I was paying this money, I would want an amazing server. So that's how I treat them because I'm like, you're paying my bills right now. I have to be nice to you. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, it's just the atmosphere, honestly, because when you're like working at other places, sometimes just get cranky. But I think it's just really putting myself in their shoes. Like but I also match energies. If you're going to give me an attitude, I'll give you one back. So, you know, just how do you want me to treat you? That's pretty much the only way I could say it.
Yeah.
You're setting the tone.
I got the unexpected lecture from my very first bartending job. I was a banquet bartender at a hotel, and I guess they expected me to be, "Good evening. What can I get you for you tonight?" Or speak very eloquently and speak very, but that's not me. I mean, I'd walk up to the customer and go, "Hey, how you doing? What do you want?" And and I guess some of the customers complained about that. And I'm like, what? I'm relaxed.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had to put on a show or make myself into a character that I normally wouldn't be in order to, and when I went home, I just like, don't, that's not me. Yeah. I'm still friendly. Yeah. But
it's so important to find a place that you feel like it fits your personality, because I also thought about doing, more upscale fine dining. And I've thought about it, but I'm like, I really like just relaxed, casual dining. That's just my personality. I want to crack jokes. I want to be relaxed. I want to know that like if I say something a little crude, nobody's gonna like, blow the lid, like chill out. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's just my personality. So I'm like, I don't know if I could do fine dining. I wanted to. And then like when I moved here, my boyfriend was like, I just don't see you working though. Like that's not your personality. You like to just like have fun and stuff. And I'm like, that's true. So I definitely like the more relaxed, laid back kind of vibe. So I can like make jokes and have fun. And that's definitely more my personality for sure.
Yeah, the same restaurant or the same hotel, they offered me an opportunity to work behind the bar in their main bar. And in there, they had classical music pumping through the speakers. People were just sitting there drinking their cordials or whatever and eating appetizers. But I knew the next bar that I was started working at, I'd be singing along with the jukebox and, just and not necessarily dancing because dancing's not my thing. But it's, when I start to dance, people donate to find a cure. But just being relaxed, singing along with the music kind of, and just joking, smiling instead of standing up straight and making sure my tie is good.
Yeah. Like, no thanks.
Yeah.
Not my thing.
Yeah. It's very important to find some place that matches your personality, but you like to go out and eat a lot. So you've seen a lot of the restaurants around San Diego by now, I'm sure.
Well, everything was closed for like till very recently. They just started
pandemic. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So I really haven't gotten to see too much. And here's the thing with me. I don't like corporate chains because I don't like the way that they're corporate greed, and I don't like the way they treat their staff. But that's all I know because of from being from Florida. I'm used to shitty food from corporate chains because that's all I grew up on. So when I come here and it's like authentic little local mom and pops, I'm like, I don't know, like all this stuff. I'm used to just like a regular, basic bitch shit from, whatever, a basic restaurant. I literally, my favorite restaurant to go to is Yard House because I love their poke nachos. That's literally the place. My boyfriend was like, Yard House. I love Yard House. And he's like, all right, Yard House again. I'm like, I just love their poke nachos. They're so good. But it's like so basic. But I'm like, I can't help it because I'm like, I don't know. I didn't grow up on like local food because I grew up in a tourist town. Everything was corporate chain. Mm-hmm. So I have to now I have to retrain my palate to start getting accustomed to better dining,
Well, all the bars that I ever worked at, were all mom and pop owned. Some good, some bad. But there was one time where a good friend of mine, because one of the bars that I worked at, or actually two of the bars I worked at, we were the latest open bars in that town. So all the people from all the bars would eventually end up coming to my bar and hanging out for a couple hours, have a drink before they go home or something like that. I'd gotten fired from one of the jobs, and then a friend of mine that worked for Red Robin, basically across the street from the bar that I worked at, she's like, come work with us. Come on, it'll be fun. And my stomach kind of turned because I was like, corporate. I don't know about that. Yeah. But I said, you know what? Give me an application. And I filled out the application. They brought me in for an interview. And as soon as I walked in for the interview, I see everybody lining up, somebody tapping a sundae, and they're heading to a table to sing happy birthday. And as soon as they were done singing happy birthday, Trisha turned around, saw me, she said, oh, great, you're here. And I said, yeah, and I'm leaving. And she quickly...
As you should. You're like, I'm not doing that song and dance. Absolutely not. It's the worst.
Yeah, she quickly grabbed me and brought me in. She said, come on. And I'm like, all right. But, it's like the movie Waiting.
Yes.
Yes.
I love it. I own it.
I've said so many times on this podcast that that's probably the most accurate depiction of working in the service industry ever made on movies. And when they say, "Oh, it's somebody's birthday at table 5," and the whole crew, the whole crew guarantees just going, crap.
Yeah.
Or
that's what actually like, I need singers. We're like, sorry, I can't. I have to run this food. Like, I need singers. Oh, it's the worst thing. And the worst trying to find singers.
Yeah.
And then I would be like by myself closing at night, and they'd be like, "It's a birthday," and I'm like, "I'm by myself, so you believe me? You don't want to hear me sing. You guys can sing. Like, you're turning 47. Nobody cares. Like, I don't care. Why do you want to sing?"
Yeah. One restaurant that they asked me, or they asked my crew, it's their birthday today. Would you guys go over there and sing them happy birthday? We all immediately, in synchronous, possibly in harmonies, said no. And
yeah,
because we're not that kind of restaurant. We've never done it before. We won't do it now. And
no.
But we did all go over there, say happy birthday, but we didn't sing. But we had to do at least a little something because the manager asked, and the manager's like, "Oh yeah, we can do that." And well, we got to keep the customer happy, so
you guys had to do it.
We didn't sing. We just all came by and said, "Hey, I heard it's your birthday. Happy birthday!" Shook their hand and all that. And but sing happy birthday? No, I have avoided that my entire service career. So
wow, congratulations. That definitely, you did not work at corporate chains.
Yeah.
Time to give Alex a little bit of a break before we really get into the serious stuff. First of all, I want to remind all you guys, if you want to help support Hey Bartender Podcast, go to www.heybartenderpodcast.com, where you can pick up a t-shirt or other Hey Bartender Podcast swag for a reasonable price. Got a couple other t-shirts on there other than just the podcast t-shirts. Go check it out. Pick yourself up a t-shirt today. Next up on the show, we have our musical guest. They, according to their Bandcamp profile, they reside in the USA. Hey, good enough for me. They are called Tally Hall from their album Complete Demos. This is Tally Hall with Greener.
Here's that part again where everything's more than it should be, and greener seems to fall beneath your feet. Seconds tick like borders whenever you don't call. Does it seem like that where you are? Wherever it is you are, does it seem like that where you are? For time together, and depending on the weather, we'll either argue in your house or outside. Different I felt before I got this notch on my belt, 'cause my plans were all for me. Yeah, but now it seems that you just rather leave wherever you go. Is breaking me slow. Don't leave it alone. Don't leave it alone. You sound so much further on that front. You fit just right next to me, but there's always someone can't be. Make you seem miles away from home, all alone. I get a little meaner. Leave a message at your tone, and miles away from home, you get a little cleaner of me. And I find a little greener shade of envy wherever you go. Is breaking me slowly. Don't leave it alone. Don't leave it alone. You sound so much further on that road. You fit just right next to me, but there's always someone can. Issues get used to getting rid of you. Don't you see what you do to me? And you just let it be. I wish you'd get used and then come running back. Take the shoulder that's become me. To the shoulder that's become. Wherever you are, breaking my heart. Don't leave it alone. Don't leave it alone. You fit just right next to me.
Once again, that was Tally Hall from their album Complete Demos with their single Greener. If you want to find out more about them, go on to bandcamp.com. You can find both of their albums, check them out, and you can also visit their website, tallyhall.com. That's TALLYHALL.com. All right, let's get back to our interview with Alex. Let me tell you, it gets heated from here. Yeah, my stomach always kind of turned when it came to the idea of working for corporate. Just because I was always used to working in the mom and pop shops, looser atmosphere, good music playing on the jukebox, and people were always more relaxed. And I always felt like I could develop a clientele better at the mom and pop stores because at corporate, it seems like they encourage you just turn those tables over. Whatever you got to do, turn it over as fast as you can so you can get another butt in that seat. Is that true? Am I?
Oh yeah, it's all turn and burn, and the promotions that they fucking give out all the time, like coupons and half off and buy one get one and whatever. Ugh, so many coupons, so many deals. It's like the thing with corporate is that they're people who have never set foot inside a restaurant as an employee, only as a consumer, and they don't know how their stupid decisions are fucking over the bottom line, because that's exactly what they're doing. The corporate chains are sitting in an office coming up with stupid dumbass ideas like, oh, but this would make us more money, but they don't know how it's fucking over the server. For example, Chili's likes, like, they have the 2 for $25 and the 3 for $10, and they are what you get with the 3 for $10 is getting a drink, a starter, and a meal for $10, where if you ring that up separately, it comes up to $21. So you just halved the price on that, but you just added more work to the server because not everybody is going to get a starter, a drink, and an entree, but now you just made it a combined deal, a combo, which, by the way, go to Chick-fil-A, you're paying more than $10 for a meal, and now you have a server serving for $10, you know what I mean? And then like Olive Garden with the unlimited soup and salad. I was working at Olive Garden in 2011 for like $6, unlimited soup and salad, and I would run circles for $1 tips. I'm like, this is abuse. This is literally abuse. I'm making $3-4 an hour, which is all going to taxes, and then I'm getting $1 tipped. And at Olive Garden, like especially all of those corporate chains, you can only take up to 3 tables at a time. You have a 3-table limit.
Oh,
and they want you to share large parties. And then they want you to share large parties. And then the IRS got rid of the automatic gratuity in 2013, unless the restaurant chose to pay the taxes on it. So then they're fucking over you people even more. I'm like, you guys are making these decisions without thinking about the people who are holding your business together. Because as you can see through COVID, it's very apparent that you do not treat your employees well. And that is why nobody is returning to work. Don't sit here and say that it's because they're on unemployment. They just don't want to work. No, they don't want to work for you. They don't want to work for you because you don't take care of your employees. You guys abuse them. You exploit them. You don't pay them well. You don't think about them and how hard they work, sweat, blood, and tears for your company, for you to sit on your ass and make all this money. And you don't care. You don't value your employees. Stop treating the bottom line like they don't matter, because they are the reason you're still open. Because as you can see, a lot of places are closing down now due to COVID, because people are starting to see their worth, and as they fucking should, because people don't care. These people don't care. They're sitting in their office collecting a fucking paycheck, not giving a shit about these people. And I'm like, that's why I'm so adamant about everybody standing up for themselves with these corporate chains, because I have seen the abuse that happens in these places, and I'm like, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. I get so mad. Sorry.
Yeah. If anybody that's listening to the podcast right now, you could see how angry she was getting right now. It was something to see. But yeah, great part of having recording an audio podcast, I can say things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can totally understand about that, because it's like even the job that I have right now, you cannot tell me that any one of those people in the corporate bigwigs, from the head CEO down to the secretary, has ever spent any time in the restaurant other than to stand nearby with a clipboard rating how the service is doing. They haven't had to run the salad. They haven't had to go back to the kitchen real quick to get another thing of ranch and then realize they just forgot to put in their appetizers, and the mind fuck that that servers go through.
The multitasking. I mean, we have a list of things that we have to remember in our head. It's not just your ranch. It's like, okay, this table needs 2 Diet Cokes. This table needs a coffee. This table needs creamer. This table needs hot water or hot tea. I need to go back. I need to get the ranch. I need to get a breadsticks. I need, like, there's so much things. And then it's like, I have to put in this order and I have to get this dessert and I have to do this. You have so many things in your head. It's like an obstacle course and a relay race that you are trying to do. And it's the adrenaline is like this morning, I was like, oh my God, it's breakfast too, which, oh man, fuck breakfast, like fucking coffees and hot chocolate all morning. But I was like, Jesus Christ, like I can't like keep an eye on my tables because I'm back here making so many coffees and hot chocolates for everybody because it was like cold out this morning. But it's so much, and like people are just like, what's taking so long? And I'm just like, bro, you got like, we have a full restaurant. You have 3, or whatever, how many ever cooks on the line who are making all this food for not just you. They're also doing to-go orders. They're also, in our case, they're doing the in-room, the hotel room service orders too. People don't think. They just are like, I don't understand. I've been waiting 20 minutes. Okay, and you're going to keep waiting because they have other orders. You are not they don't see what's going on behind the scenes, and people are just so oblivious. And so it's like, if your ranch takes 5 minutes, I had other things that were more important that I had to get to before your ranch. Right.
And some the customers have this weird idea. No matter how packed the restaurant is, they think they're the only ones there, and that can be frustrating in itself. And is, excuse me, but where's my? Well, I'm sorry, but I'm the only server here right now. Your food will come out. I'll try to say it as nice as possible. I'm the only server here right now. I'll try to get your food out as soon as possible. If you just wait a couple more minutes. They didn't hear that. They heard me. They probably heard me saying, "Shut the hell up. You'll get your food when when the food is ready." Yeah. And so immediately they call the manager or something like that. Yeah.
Can I just tell you a couple things that happened yesterday? Somebody came in at 4:30 p.m. and yelled at my manager because he wanted breakfast at 4:30 p.m. And she said, sir, breakfast ends at 11. And he said, well, I shouldn't have to wake up to accommodate your breakfast hours. And she said, that's exactly what you need to do.
Oh my God.
Also, unless you go to IHOP or Denny's, that's the only places you're going to find breakfast at 4:30 p.m. He was like, I'm paying a lot of money to stay here. Okay, and like, wake up if you want breakfast. I don't know the logic. And then today we had a guy that came in and we were on a wait. We were on like I don't know how long of a wait, but we were on a wait. And he kept being like, I don't understand why I can't get a table. And the host was like, sir, we're on a wait. I have a waiting list. And he's like, but you have open tables. And she's like, yes, but I have a wait. You need to put your name on the wait list and then I can call you. And he's like, well, I can't wait. I'm going to hit traffic. I have to be somewhere. And she's like, that sounds like a personal problem, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. We're on a wait. Like, I don't understand why people are so entitled. They're just like, another lady was like, I'm just going to sit down now. And she's like, no, you're not. You're not just going to skip everybody who has been waiting patiently because you're impatient, and your lack of time management is not my problem. You should have managed your time better. Really not my issue. I'm like, this entitlement of people is ridiculous.
Now, this guy that said that he has to be somewhere at a certain time. Now, did you something? A smart ass remark that come in my head was like, if you wait just a little bit longer, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll get you a police escort so we make sure that you get you to your place right on time. So if just sit here, be quiet. The police escort will be here by the time you get your check.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, he was just like, he was stopping everybody that would walk by asking why he can't get a table. And it's like, we don't have time for you, bro. Like, go somewhere else. I don't know what to tell you. It's crazy how people get so entitled. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, entitlement, like you've been saying, is the customers really, it happens quite a bit. Yeah. But when all of a sudden a person like you comes in as a customer, Do you rate or treat your servers, or do you judge them, or do you actually pay attention what's going on around them? Because I do that a lot. It's like this
100%.
restaurant's packed, so that's the reason we haven't gotten our waters yet. Yeah,
100%. My boyfriend worked at Applebee's for 7 years, so he does the same thing. And we went out to eat the other day, and I was like annoyed because the server was really rude. First of all, the place was empty. It was Outback. I know, a corporate chain. So we went there and the place was empty, and she took a while to come over. And so when she came, I was like, hey, we're actually ready to order, if that's okay. And she's like, yeah, it's fine. And I'm just like, okay, you have nothing else going on, I can see. So then I was like, okay, so we order, and she's just like irritated. And then my boyfriend was like, oh, can I also have some salt and pepper? She's like, I'll think about it, like trying to be funny. And it's just like, okay, whatever. So then towards the end of it, she brings the check, and I was paying with cash. So then she comes over and she's like, do you want to pay? They have the little tablets on the table. And she's like, so do you want me to take your card, or do you want to pay on the tablet? And then I was like, oh, it's fine. I actually have cash. And she was like, okay. And then she just stood there. And I was like, oh, actually, I don't need change. Like, we're all good. And then she's like, okay, well, I need to take it. It's not like we have a machine that's going to take your money. And I was like, you are so fucking lucky that I'm not going off on you right now, because like, why would you say that to someone? I was like, I have not been rude to you. I've been so nice. You have been so rude to me the entire time. And then now to come back with a smart ass remark like that, to be like, oh, it's not like we have a machine that's going to take your money and then like laugh about it. I'm like, you're being a bitch. You're being a straight up bitch for absolutely no reason, because we did nothing wrong. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, I 100. And then I have servers that are so nice and so accommodating and go above and beyond. And I'm like, see, that is a good server. Like, yes, I can tell the difference if you're a good server or a bad server. If you have an attitude, and I don't know what you're going through, but I didn't do anything to cause you. You're giving me an attitude for no reason. I did nothing. I just came here to eat. If you hate your job, quit. You know what I mean? Like, people used to say all the time, oh, if you hate your job, quit. I mean, yeah, if you're going to treat your customers or your guests that way, they didn't do anything wrong. Unless I did something wrong, you have no reason to be treating me this way. So yeah, I 100% judge my servers, because like I said, I work for my money, and I expect everybody else to too.
Right.
It's not free money. Like, it doesn't grow on trees.
Well, back when, years ago, we had this one customer and her husband, boyfriend, half brother, I don't know what the hell he was. She used to come in and into my bar after her shift was done and drink Budweisers while watching WWE Raw on one of our TVs. She never tipped. And the thing that bothered all of us about it is she'd maybe drink 4 or 5 Budweisers in a night, never tipped. The only thing that bothered us about it is she worked at Denny's and had worked at Denny's. Well, if you judge by her looks, she probably had been working for Denny's since the company first started. But I don't know how long she worked for Denny's. But the point was that she was she worked in the service industry, but never tipped.
That's what I don't understand.
Yeah. So
because I've heard stories like that.
Yeah. In retaliation, like I told you about how this show works. It's just servers, bartenders getting together, telling stories, things like that. After our shift, we went over to Denny's one night and saw that she was working. And as we're finishing up, we actually, as some servers do, you might be guilty of it, we started pre-bussing the table just because that's what we're used to.
It's habit, yeah.
And but then we all looked at each other and said, she never tips us. And my friend Shannon, who's nicest person in the world, has the patience of Job and all that, she said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to tip the shit out of her. And so we all just threw the money down. She probably made, maybe it was like somewhere around a $40, $50 tab, probably got $30 from us. And then after that, she would come into our bar and we'd at least get $1. and so she actually took a hint.
I don't understand though, but like only $1 after you guys left her so much. Like, I don't understand though, like if you're a server, and I mean, I could understand if you had like the worst service ever and you're like, okay, you did not earn a tip. And even then I still leave because I'm like, you still have to tip out. I don't want you paying out of pocket for this.
Right.
But still, like, how are you going to frequent a place and then not tip? And I don't know how you guys kept your mouth shut, because I would have said something. I would have been like, why don't you ever tip? You're a server. I call people out all the time. I used to call people out all the time.
Yeah, I wanted to one time, but like I said, Shannon's the nicest person on the planet, and she's like, no, it's okay, calm down. And I'm like, we have to babysit her boyfriend, husband, whatever he was, because he was a troublemaker around the bar. We have to babysit him. She expects a beer as soon as her beer is empty, even if we're running 3 wide, 5 deep, and and she doesn't tip us, but after that, they started being just a touch more generous. But, just...
$1. I just don't get what the logic is behind that. Did she enjoy working for free at Denny's, I guess?
Maybe.
Don't get it.
But, that's that story. I mean, eventually she couldn't come into our bar anymore because we had to 86 her boyfriend because he was too much... Yeah, he would walk from table to table bothering everybody. So we're okay, you're done. Get out. And if we told the woman, if she wants to come in, that's fine, but he can't. And so she disappeared from our bar for a good 4 months. Then she started coming back into our bar and admitted to us that there were no longer any bars that would let her boyfriend in. So now she goes wherever she wants. He can just go home.
Oh, wow. Why is she still with him?
They've long since separated a long time ago, but but it was just one of those situations. It's he became so much of a problem that no bar in town would serve him. Wow. And it's kind of like the way I think of, what's his name? Sacha Baron Cohen and his wife,
Amy Adams.
No, not Amy.
Oh, Isla Fisher.
Her.
Isla Fisher?
Yeah, Isla Fisher. I have a feeling that Isla Fisher is not allowed to go into a lot of Hollywood parties just because of Sacha Baron Cohen.
Because of him. You know what? You're probably right. You're probably right.
But
everybody's scared.
But they care about each other. They, I think she can do better, but that's just me. But anyway, so now I've been watching your TikToks for a little while. That's how I came across you. I've been watching your Instagram, and I became fascinated mostly with your Florida woman stories and stuff like that. But I've also noticed you have been a very, very strong advocate when it comes to how management treats servers and sexual harassment in the workplace. How did that all start?
I don't honestly know. I think what happened was, I'm trying to think of how this all started. I think what really happened was the fact that 2 of my friends got fired from the Pepper, and
we've already talked trash about all these corporate restaurants. Let's just call it Chili's.
Okay, so 2 of my friends got fired from Chili's, and I was pissed. I was pissed because they're very hard workers, and they worked really hard for that, especially one of them. She was there. I mean, they used her. They would have her working freaking 24 hours in 2 days. I mean, she was there. She would be, bartending. She would be serving. She'd be doing to go. She'd be prepping in the back. I mean, they used her. They milked her for all she was worth. And I mean, first of all, I got fired for a social media post where I told a story time that happened at Chili's with a coworker. I never said names, who, what, when, where, why. I never said anything. I just told this story. This coworker clearly has an obsession with me because she kept watching my videos obsessively and then called corporate on me. She called corporate on me, and they called me. And they were like, well, I said, I've been working in restaurants for so long, and I never gave information. I know what's okay and what is not okay. So how do you even know that this story is about that even happened at Chili's? And they were like, well, this person confirmed. This other person called and said the same thing. I'm like, okay, so now she's gathering friends to make up stories, like, how do you know? And they were like, well, anyway, you represent us because I partnered with Chili's last year during my, with my TikTok. So I partnered with them. Though, well, everybody knows you work there, and you got your story. It just makes us look bad. I'm like, okay. And I was on the phone with HR, and I was like, "Are you gonna fire me? Because I would rather not have to go to work. Like, I'm okay. I said, I have never had a write up. I have never been late. I have never called out. I've never had any issues, never complained. I closed. I am a trainer. I have worked so hard for your company, and you're going to sit here and, you know, take this person's side who you barely know because she wasn't really there that long, who doesn't give a shit about your company. And you're going to take her side over mine, over a hard worker who actually cares about this job. And they were just like, oh, well, you know, like bullshit. I get to work because I was like, if you want to fire me over that, be my guest. Like, you guys are losing a great employee. I have no reason to fucking stay here. If that's how you're going to be, that's how you're going to treat me. I went to work, and if the GM fired me, I laughed in her face because I was like, fuck this place. I wanted to quit anyway, but I didn't quit because it was the middle of the pandemic, and I had just moved to San Diego. I had transferred, didn't have a job. So I was upset because I was like, I worked very hard. You had no reason to fire me and no grounds to fire me because I never said your establishment and I never said this person's name. So you just fired me on no grounds. And I'm a very hard worker, and there was no reason it had to happen because I'm the type of person that I will stay at a place until I get fired because I'm just so loyal that it's hard for me to just quit a place. So then I get word that, you know, all this shit is happening at my old Chili's. This hostess that I didn't know, but she started following me on TikTok, told me, hey, I work at the Chili's that you used to work at, and I keep calling HR about sexual harassment. And I knew who she was talking about. And I was like, oh, like, I was really upset about that, but it still wasn't a thing. And then I found out that my friends got fired, and I got really upset about that. And when my friend told me, she's like, girl, like, we got a new GM and he just fired me. And she didn't even tell me the story, how it happened, which that's another thing. I was just like, I was pissed. And I woke up one morning to work breakfast. It was 6 a.m. And I said, I choose violence today. I literally woke up and I said, let me tell you what, Chili sucks and it's going to go out of business soon. And you can't sue me for slander when it's true. And I just fucking went in and just started saying all this shit. I was like, they exploit their workers. They don't give a shit about anyone. The food is fucking microwave shit. I was like, fuck this place. And it blew up, which I didn't expect it to, because it was kind of like I did that on my second account, which is my personal one, which is how it serves tea. And I didn't know that it was going to blow up. I just kind of did it for like my followers. And all of a sudden it just fucking skyrocketed. And once that went viral, I got so many DMs and so many comments of people and a lot of girls being like, oh, fuck Chili's. Like, I got fired for no reason, or I was being sexually harassed. And all the comments that were flooding in about sexual harassment and HR doing nothing, that's what pissed me off, because I was like, what the fuck is going on at HR that these girls are all, there's no reason for me to get this many comments on sexual harassment and for nothing to have been done. So that really just got me riled up. And I've always just been really big on, I don't know why. I feel like my purpose on earth is to be the voice for these people. I don't know why, because I've always been really big on abuse and I always watch Law and Order SVU, like sexual, like it's just a thing that's like, I don't know, maybe it's a past life thing. I don't know. I just like need to be an advocate for it.
That Latina fire in you.
Yeah, maybe, right? So I don't know what it is that it's just like, it makes me, I think the thing is that like, just growing up, I always felt like I wasn't heard enough. Like, and then I hate liars. Lying is the one thing that I will never trust you. If you lie to me once, like it's broken. And I used to like not get believed a lot for some reason. Like, why are you not believing me? I don't lie. It's so hard for me to lie. I can act, but I can't lie. Like, I just don't believe in lying. It's so hard for me. It's like, just tell the fucking truth. So when these girls are telling the truth and they're not being heard, I was so angry, because I'm like, why aren't these girls being heard? And then on top of that, you know, of course I'm obsessed with like, you know, acting in Hollywood and everything. And then the Me Too movement came out, and then all the allegations against all these men came out. And then, you know, I loved Ellen DeGeneres. And then I found out all the shit, how horrible she was on her show. All the allegations came out about her. And I was just so angry with all the evil going on in the world. And then to find out all these girls that were like, hey, I haven't been heard. And so then for Chili's to have the fucking balls to comment on my video and be like, well, please contact team member relations. Please, we'd like to talk about this. I was like, you have got some fucking nerve. You fired me over a social media post where I didn't mention you at all. You haven't been active on your TikTok for over a year. And all of a sudden, because I'm sitting here fucking outing you and exposing you, now you want to comment? Now you want to comment? Oh, let's fucking go. Let's fucking go. You just gave me the green light. So that's when I was like, I guess I had to make a video to go viral for you guys to fucking say something. And that's when I showed the screenshots of only 5 comments that I had received. And I have received hundreds of messages and comments of people. And they're like, I reported it to HR. I had to quit because nothing got done. And it was just all this stuff. And I was like, what about all these girls? Why don't you fucking listen to them? You guys don't do shit. And on top of that, you guys are fucking having people do free labor with your fucking ghost kitchens. Oh my God, ghost kitchens is another thing that I'm so fucking pissed about, because
that's a term. That's a term that I've only found out about recently. Now explain that to me.
So apparently they started in 2015, and it really is for small businesses. So let's say you start a restaurant and you obviously don't have the money to pay a staff as far as a server goes or whatever. There's ghost kitchens in San Diego that I have been to. It's literally a rented out kitchen, a building. You walk in, all it is a counter. You go up to the guy or whoever is working there at the register. You order your food. They have a kitchen in the back. They make the food. They give it to you. That's it. That is how a ghost kitchen, what a ghost kitchen was intended for you to rent a space, for you to run your own little private restaurant that you can either do deliveries or people can come and pick up. That's it. But corporations with their fucking corporate greed got in here and are abusing the system. They're sitting here and they're using restaurants that are already established. So Chili's has It's Just Wings, and now they're introducing It's Just Pasta, and which they're putting it under, in some places, under Maggiano's, which Maggiano's is a sister restaurant that Brinker owns. And I'm like, you're going to put Maggiano's name with this Chili's pasta? Like, way to bring your fucking status down too. And so they use their cooks that are already cooking for Chili's to make food for these to-go orders. And then they use their to-go staff or servers to pack up the food at no extra pay. And it's gotten to the point where they are so busy with to-go orders that servers are not getting sat tables. They are going on false wait because the kitchen cannot keep up with the demand on the to-go orders. And it's all DoorDash and It's Just Wings. Nobody is making money because you've got your servers on server pay. You have your to-go people on to-go pay because you're expected for them to get tip. And then you have your poor cooks, like 2 cooks on the line trying to fucking keep up with the demands. They can't keep up with it. If you want to have a restaurant that just does to-goes, have a restaurant that just do a ghost kitchen the way it's supposed to be. And while you're at it, fucking CEO can come down and do it himself, because I bet you he fucking wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. This is free fucking labor and it's exploitation. And people who are like, oh, well, it's still under the Chili's name, blah, blah, blah. Are you getting a W-2? Are you getting a pay stub? No, you're not. And there's places that have up to 6 ghost kitchens, and people are like, we can't do anything. Like, I can't even wait on my tables because I'm sitting here with all these orders from 6 different places that I'm trying to get together, and it's taking away my attention. And I'm like, how is this okay? How do people think this is okay? The profit goes 100% to DoorDash and to whatever restaurant, Chili's, whatever the top whatever restaurant is. That's the profit. But the person doing all the fucking labor is getting none of the fucking profit. How is it okay that DoorDash is getting a percentage and getting the tip, but the server or the to-go person and the kitchen staff gets nothing? That is not okay.
Yeah.
Like, it is not okay. And
yeah.
I'm like, we need to expose this shit because it's exploitation is what it is.
Yeah,
the
server's not getting any getting the tip off of that thing, and they work their hourly wage. But when the food gets rang up, does it go on their sales for that night?
So the food gets no, because so the food comes in like as an online order, so it's different. So like it doesn't count against you as far as like tipping out goes. Yeah, but it's like you have a checkout as a to-go person, but you're not tipping out as a to-go person. And then if you're doing a to-go order as a server, it's separate. It's an online order as instead of like just a to-go order that you run in yourself. But nobody does it anymore. Now with the pandemic, everybody's doing DoorDash to everything is online. Nobody's calling in an order anymore. Nobody's going in and picking it up and tipping the person. And all these people are getting fucked over. Like people were like, oh, I was making $150. Now I'm making $50. On top of the fact that they're having, don't even get me started on the fucking tip out. It went from 1% to 5.5% at 3 for 10s and 2 for 25s. When I moved here, I was tipping out 5% because they wanted me to tip out back a house, 3 point something percent. I had to tip out a food runner. I had to tip out this. I'm like, you want me to tip this out on 3 for 10s? 3 for 10s. I'm not fucking making any money. I was walking out with like $30 after tipping out $70. People are telling me that their checks are in the negatives
Mhm.
or in the negative. They have to pay the line cooks. I'm like, you guys dropped your line cooks pay from $20 an hour to minimum wage, and now you're having your servers tip them out, and you think that's okay? And then you lower the price of everything, and these people are slaving away for literally no money. Like, you guys are fucking greedy pieces of shit. Greedy fucking shit. You guys do not fucking care about anybody but yourselves, your fucking pocket. And then they're so fucking busy with these online orders that they were approved to turn the online orders off for 20 minutes a day. And then corporate called after 2 days and was like, nope, you guys got to turn them back on. We're losing $10 a minute because you guys are shutting off online orders. Okay, but the kitchen can't keep up with the demands. You have nobody working for you because nobody wants to work for your shitty company. And then you have servers that can't guess that regulars are pissed off. Like, hey, your restaurant's empty. I would like to eat. And they're like, sorry, we can't. We're 45 pages back on to-go orders. We can't do anything. I'm like, become a drive-through. Become a fucking Burger King if that's what you want to be. Because you guys don't care anymore. All you care about is your dollar. That's it. That's all you care about. You don't care about these people that are working for you and you're not paying them properly. They deserve to be paid.
Yeah, I've never been one for the whole tipping out thing. You make your money, you and pay the cooks what they deserve to be paid, and all that sort of thing. We shouldn't have to. Well, if there were times where I tipped out the cook just because he did a hell of a good job that night, or other situations like that. But when it comes to giving a percentage. Like I've had waitresses that for some reason they felt like it was necessary for them to stand behind the bar and smoke cigarettes for majority of their shift. And I'm actually running their food, but I'm supposed to be behind the bar. Or when I was a dishwasher, the bartender that was working that night has to make some kind of excuse. Sorry, buddy, I didn't make any money tonight. There were no customers, and I can see over his shoulder that his bucket is overflowing with $1 bills. And I'm just like, you know what? I don't care. Just give me my free my root beer so I can walk home. And but I've never been one for tipping out, especially because the servers they have to they work hard enough as it is. Just staying on their feet, walking back and forth, and dealing with the customers. But is anybody really paid what what they deserve nowadays? It just our pay wages get lower and lower, and with promises
and
from
the cost of living keeps going up.
Exactly. And even with the government right now saying that they're going to raise the minimum wage to a livable wage. And well, that's just going to, in my opinion, worst case scenario, that's going to raise the cost of living, and then everything it'll and lower the value of the dollar at the same time. It's just that's just the way it's going to be. But I talked to a girl from Canada just recently, and she said the same thing happened there, where they tried to raise the minimum wage to the point where tips aren't part of our income. It's actually a gratuity. And they tried to do that, and it worked kind of, I was worried about like going to the store and realizing that the price of a gallon of milk is going to go up to $12, but she said it only went up $1.
Yeah,
for a gallon
I'm in
of milk.
California now. We make $14 an hour is our minimum wage. Granted, 44% of our income gets taxed, so it's not like it balances out. It's not like I'm actually making it. But yes, the cost of living is higher, obviously, than some places. But in Florida, I was making $5 an hour server pay, working at Chili's, making no money. And honestly, my sister and I are both like, the cost of living is not that much higher. I mean, we did live in like a more expensive area, so we are paying just like maybe $1 or $2 more for everything. So for us, it wasn't a big jump, because Orlando has gone really expensive, and their minimum wage in 2019 was still like 8 something an hour. Still 2019. So their cost of living has skyrocketed, and the price hasn't gone up. Honestly, people think that the cost of living is going to go up with minimum wage going up, but the cost of living has already gone up. When I moved, when I got an apartment in 2012, I paid $600 for rent. That same apartment now is going for $1,000. The minimum wage hasn't gone up. So nothing has changed. So every year they wanted to raise my rent. And every year I had to say, I got this apartment because of the cost. My pay has not gone up. The cost of living keeps going up, but I'm not making more money. I am not going to pay more money. And every year they would be like, okay, because I'm like, you guys, you can't keep raising my rent when I am not making more money. The cost of living keeps going up, but my wages do not. I don't understand how this is okay. So honestly, it's really not going to make that much of a difference. Everything has already gone up.
Well, here in Texas, kind of the same thing. When I first moved out here 10 years ago, I was able to get a 1-bedroom, 1-bath, crappy apartment for $500 a month. That was a great starter place when you're moving from Oregon. But as of today, I looked it up last month. That same 1-bedroom, 1-bath crappy apartment is $1,300 a month. And
it's crazy.
And it has to do not necessarily with the cost of living. In my worthless opinion, this is just the worthless opinion of a bartender. But the oil field, when I first moved out here, the oil field was at an all-time low. They were firing everybody or laying off a whole bunch of people. But then all of a sudden, the oil field spiked where they realized, okay, we need a bunch of people. We need to get them on here fast. Let's not do background checks, and we'll pay them $35 an hour to start. And so all of a sudden, these landlords or owners of these places were like, well, these people can afford it. They're going to need a place to live. So, why don't we get a couple more bucks out of it? And and I'm still sitting back thinking about that 1-bedroom, 1-bath crappy apartment I used to live in. I'm thinking to myself, I would not pay $1,300 a month for that piece of shit.
Right.
And but it was one of those. But it was, in a way, it was one of those things where it got my head out of my ass, just because my dad's like, you make enough money, buy a damn house, and I'm like, okay,
yeah, I guess I can do that.
But the whole cost of living. I mean, on the East Coast, it's actually the worst that I've heard. I mean, if anybody else around the country wants to say something, chime in on it, that's fine with me. But I've had guests from New York who said they make below minimum wage, like $2.50 an hour, and then the rest of their income is based on their tips. There are other people. There was another girl that worked in New Jersey that actually she doesn't make an hourly wage. Her income is based solely on tips. And when I hear stories like that, it drives me absolutely insane. And it was like, why? And it's still a job. You've got free labor and you're making them do cartwheels just so they can pay their rent. But then on top of it,
then they make you tip out and pay everyone else on top of that.
Exactly. The girl from Canada, she was talking about how there were days where she was doing her tip out and realized that she went into the negative. She actually had to go to an ATM because her tip out was based on her sales. And so she had to go ATM and get more money out so she could finish tipping out the rest of the restaurant. And
that's something that I wanted to say too, because like I said, how people are going in the negative, it's because it automatically comes out of your sales, even if you don't get tipped. And I'm like, so now I'm paying out of pocket, paying your cooks or whoever's wages. My new job now, I do have to tip out a lot, but I have a lot of help and I'm okay with it because like I said, our prices are high and it's okay because I'm not sitting here doing 15 jobs for the price of one. They have somebody at every position, a food runner, a busser, a host, everything. And then we tip them out. I'm okay with that. I'm like, you're doing your job. You are helping me out. I don't have to stress. Here's your money. But let's say you have a bad day. I had a bad day last week. I just had really, really bad tips. Everybody, it was like they were running a special at the hotel. So it was all really cheap people there and they weren't tipping. So I let the busser know like, hey, your tip out's going to be really bad today. Because I'm like, I'm not going to pay out of pocket. I'm not paying you out of pocket because these people didn't pay me. So at least there, we're allowed to do that. We're allowed to, distinguish how much we want to tip out. But when you're at Chili's and, you have $1,000 in sales and you're tipping out, whatever, $50 or whatever, I'm like, but I didn't make that. Like I made, I made, let's say $100. I made 10% of my sales. I made $100, and they're like, okay, well, you have to tip out $50. I'm like, so I made $50, and now I'm paying everybody else's wages, like out of pocket. When you don't tip, the server has to pay to serve you, and people don't get that.
Yeah, it's actually insane. I've never really been a big believer in the whole tip out policy, even though when I was, I didn't know any better and I was a dishwasher. All of a sudden the waitresses would come down and say, here you go, put it into place. And I'd be like, cool. I never expected it, but I've got money. I could eat tomorrow, but
right. It's sad. Honestly, the service industry, like, I don't understand. I don't know. Are there any other countries that do tipping system without paying a livable wage?
Well, I've actually been receiving messages and comments on my social media pages recently. Actually, there's one guy in England I interviewed a long time ago. He mentioned that he doesn't get tipped, but he gets paid $15 American an hour. And but his tipping situation is people want to, it's like, go ahead and buy yourself a drink at the end of the night, and they hand him money to buy himself a beer or a shot or something like that. And has a chalkboard, puts a tally up there, drinks that I'm owed, and he's like, he can possibly drink there for free for the rest of his life. He's got so many tallies up there. But they don't do it in England because they pay a livable wage. In other places like Japan, I've heard recently, tipping is actually an insult. It's like you're treating them like paupers or something like that. No, we're not beggars. You ate at our restaurant, you paid for your food, get out of here. Sometimes they'll even chase after you if you try to tip them. But it has to do with I kind of assumed the same thing was in Canada as in Europe, that they got paid the proper amount in order to live. But after talking to Ashley a couple episodes ago, that's not the case. I don't know how it all works out, but I do know from one guy in England that servers out there actually get paid a livable wage, and they have medical benefits and stuff like that. When all of our servers and bartenders out here, we're lucky if we get paid minimum wage. And if we end up getting COVID or breaking our leg, we are screwed.
So screwed, because we don't get sick days. We don't get anything. Like, if you're sick, you have to still work. And then it's so funny because they have the like stuff at the door in the office, and it's like, if you have any of these symptoms, don't come to work. And you're like, yeah, I have those symptoms, but you still want me here because God forbid I take a day off. And then it's a double-edged sword, because the reason that servers and bartenders stay in the industry so long is because we make great money. I mean, you can make up to $100,000 a year, depending on where you work. You can average $20, $50 an hour. Where else are you going to do that working part-time? Like, it's hard, but then you're also like, oh, but we should get paid more. But then it's like, but also I don't want to lose out on money because I wouldn't be serving if I wasn't getting tipped. Because if I was just making minimum wage, I'd be like, I'm not slaving away for these people for $15 an hour. Get out of here. I'd find another job.
Yeah.
But it's just so hard because you're like, you want to. I just think it should be minimum wage plus tips. That's what it should be everywhere.
Yeah. Oh, I've known so many servers or bartenders that were offered management. Hey, come work in the management office. And they all went, God, no. I make way more money than you when I'm working behind the bar. I'm fine right where I'm at.
100%.
Well,
people tell me all the time, they're like, why don't you go into management? I'm like, do you think I hate my life? Absolutely not. No, I like working part-time. I like having the freedom. I don't want to give a fuck about this place once I'm gone, and I can make more money. And like, managers always envy servers and bartenders. They're like, you fucking servers, you guys are always complaining and and you guys make all this money. And I'm like, you're just jealous. Become a server, but you don't, because you care more about the title. That a lot of people that move up, it's because they care about the title or they want the benefits. But I'm like, I mean, get health insurance. Get health insurance. If you can afford it as a server, get health insurance. I think health insurance is a scam. It doesn't actually do anything for you. So who fucking cares? Like, they don't fucking take care of you. But I'm like, I do not care about the title. I don't care about the label. I don't care if you think I'm a piece of shit because I'm a server. I pay my bills. You do not pay them, and I do not pay your bills. Don't worry about me. Like, I don't care what my title is. I'm making money, and I'm happy with my life. I have the freedom to do whatever I want, and I don't have to stress. Like, managers are under so much stress all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, thank you. That is not for me.
Yeah, was it Chris Rock talking about insurance? He's, you know, if nothing happens to you that year, I pay you so much a month, but if nothing happens to me that year, shouldn't I get that money back? Oops.
Yeah. I'm like, no.
Sorry about that. For the listeners, I accidentally kicked the camera, but yeah, because you're paying all this money in, but you didn't use it that year for whatever reason. So then you're encouraged to take physicals every year or whatever, just so you can say I used that money. When the doctor says you need to come in for a wellness visit. What the hell's a wellness visit?
Yeah.
And
I had like Obamacare for like a year, and I was so mad because I got it because, you know, I didn't have health insurance as a server. I was like, oh, cool, I'll get Obamacare. So I got Obamacare, and, you know, as a server, I don't know what I'm going to make the following year. So it's based off your income. So I was like, well, this is what I made last year. So that's what I put down. This is my income. Well, when tax season came, they were like, you actually made more than you said you were going to. So now you owe us $600. I was like, what? Yeah. And then they were like, so then I said, cancel that shit. Obviously, they took my money from my taxes. I canceled it. And then when it came back around during tax season, they were like, well, why didn't you have health insurance? I said, I could not afford it. And they were like, okay. And then they waived it. I'm like, okay, I could have just done that. Like, they made it seem like I had to have Obamacare, and they were going to tax me if I didn't. And then they taxed me when I did have it. And then when I didn't have it, I just said I couldn't afford it. And then they waived it, which my friend from Olive Garden told me that. She's like, girl, just say you can't afford it. And I was like, oh. And then I did that, and they were like, okay, it's waived. I'm like, wow, I could have been doing that last year. It's a scam.
Well, we're coming up towards the end of the show here. I want to, first of all, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to be on the show. You had a lot of important stuff that needed to be spread around a little bit, even though you've got more followers on your TikTok than I do for my podcast. But I really appreciate it that you took the time to say your piece. Now, well, real quick, do you have any advice for people that work in the service industry? Because it can be anybody that are going through some kind of harassment or going through some kind of hardship. Do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, do not let big corporations silence you. We have rights. You have every right to speak up for yourself. And if you get fired for speaking up against yourself, that is retaliation. Report it to the labor board, report it to the EEOC, and get yourself a lawyer who will only take money if you win. Also, you can go and look up how to be like a whistleblower or whatever, and then you can report that too, because you are protected by what is it? I was just looking at it, but it's like, it's ethics. Like, you are allowed to expose companies for the illegal shit or wrongdoings or toxic environment. You're allowed to speak on all of that. And a lot of people have been pretty much brainwashed to think that you can't speak up. No, you can't say anything. They're going to sue you. They're going to sue you for defamation. They're going to sue you for slander. As long as you're not lying. If you are not lying and you're not saying like, this person, you know, did this to me, and then, you know, they didn't do anything, like, or whatever, or they're making me work hours off the clock and they really weren't doing that, then you have nothing to worry about. Like, you are allowed to speak up for yourself. And you know what? Take everybody in Hollywood and everything that is happening in the world right now as an example that we are allowed to speak up for ourselves. We have been used, misused, and abused for way too long. We get treated like literal shit. Like, we are so replaceable. They tell us all the time, you're a dime a dozen. You're a dime a dozen. You're so replaceable. We're so replaceable. Why can't you open your doors now? You can't open your doors because you need us. So fucking treat us with respect. Stand up for yourself. Don't let people walk all over you. Don't let people harass you, and say something. And if you go to HR and corporate and they don't do something about it, go above them, because HR is only there to protect themselves, their boss, and their paycheck. They don't give a fuck about you. You think they care about you? They don't care about you. But if some people who actually follow the rules of HR, great. But if you do it and they ignore you, like everybody who has been messaging me from Chili's, we have the power. Let me tell you, all these corporate greed, all these places have taken everything from us, literally everything. We have we have no unions. We have no pensions. Are we even going to get our Social Security? Taking our 401ks? They've taken every single thing. Boomers have taken everything from us. So shut the fuck up, because now it's our turn. Now it's our turn. You can't take anything from us. We have nothing. We have so much debt because of you. We have no money. We can't barely survive. The only thing that we can do is stand up for ourselves and make a change. So stand up for yourself, because if we keep listening to them, we're never going to change how we want the world to be. So stand up for yourself and say, I'm not putting up with this shit anymore. What are you going to do? What are you do? What are you going to take from me? You have nothing to take from me because you haven't given me anything. You take and you take and you take and you give me nothing. So now I'm going to take from you. So that's why I started saying all this shit on my TikTok, because I'm like, the only thing I have is my voice. And I have a social media platform and I'm going to fucking use it. And that's the one thing that they don't know how to do is social media. They don't know what the fuck they're doing, because now this is our turn. This is our generation to change things. And if we want to do it, we can do it. We don't have to keep following this shit, because it wasn't always like this. The world was not always like this. We can survive on our own. We can farm. We can support local businesses. We can trade. We can do things with each other as a community. We don't have to give our money to corporations. They have just taken over with their fucking greed, their businesses. They've taken over the world, and it's over. Their time is gone. Like, we do not need them anymore. We can do this on our own. We can do it. Like, we just have to come together as one, support each other, and get it done. Fuck them. Fuck all them. I'm over it. I'm like, they can all burn in hell. Their time is done. They got their money. They can go. They can go rot with their money. That's all they cared about.
Definitely. Wow.
That's it.
That was powerful.
Thanks. Sorry.
You are a very intense
I just
woman.
get mad. I'm like, you guys, stand up for yourselves. Like, people think they don't have a voice. I'm like, you have a voice. Don't let these people intimidate you and threaten you.
Especially
Fuck them. No job is worth your sanity and your health. I have had messages of people telling me they were in the hospital because of how stressed they were. They were in a psych ward. They were on suicide watch because of fucking Chili's, actually. And I'm like, first of all, thank you for still being here. But second of all, don't ever let a job get you to that point. Mm-hmm. Because I assure you, you will be okay. You will be okay. Put yourself first. You are more important than money and a job, because these people do not care about you. I had a cook that got murdered, and what nobody even fucking said a word about him. I was like, hey, does anybody know where this cook is? Oh yeah, he was murdered. I'm like, we're just going to ignore it after he slaved away for this place? Nobody acknowledged it. I'm like, you died for this place and they don't give a shit about you. Do not let them do that to you. You are more important than these places. You have to set your boundaries and your standards for them to treat you how you want to be treated. Don't let them walk all over you.
Yeah. You said it. I got nothing to add to that. So anyway, so if anybody wants to find out more about you or hear more of your stories about these situations, about how you're feeling on corporate, being able to stand up for yourself when it's on things like being treated fairly, sexual harassment, where would people be able to find you on social media?
Well, my Instagram is Alex Serves. My TikTok that has a mix of my skits and my standing up against corporation stuff. But I mostly post everything on my Alex Serves Tea account, like tea, like sipping the tea. So Alex Serves Tea is where I'm doing my Exposing the Pepper series, where I'm posting screenshots every single day of people who have come to me with their story of how Chili's has mistreated them and mishandled allegations. And I've been posting that, and they have evidence, emails, and everything that they have contacted corporate, and corporate has done nothing. And since corporate wants to keep ignoring them, I'm just going to keep exposing them. And they try to contact me, and I'm like, y'all aren't going to do shit. I'm just going to, what I can do now is expose you. That's the only way to get you to, fucking get anything done or shut down or whatever. So that is on Actors Tea. And then my skits, my Karen stories from Florida, are on Alex Serves. So I have my funny page, and then I have my I don't know, fight the good fight. All my other stuff on the other page. But yeah, there's a mix of everything on my Instagram, which is Alex Serves.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for letting me rant on forever about this.
I don't think I could have stopped you if I tried.
Oh, yeah, I know. I just keep going.
Well, that's it, people. It is last call. Last call for alcohol. Come on up to the bar and get one more before you go. I'm not going to come out there because, quite frankly, it's too crowded and I get a little anxiety. But if you want to follow Hey Bartender Podcast, follow us on Facebook at heybartenderpodcast.com. If you want to follow us on Instagram at heybartenderpodcast.com. If you want to contact me for any reason whatsoever, you have a comment on tonight's story, you have a story that you want to share, but you don't really want people to know who you are, or you want to be a part of the show, or play your music on my show, all you have to do is email me at dude@heybartenderpodcast.com. I'd be happy to entertain anything. I'd love to hear from you guys about anything that you've heard on these podcasts. If you can relate to them, if you disagree with a certain point, I'd love to hear from it. Or if you want to send me something, hell, everybody else, all these other podcasts that I listen to, they all say, hey, if you want to send me something, then they mention their address. So if you want to email, snail mail me anything from to Hey Bartender Podcast, mail it to P.O. Box 12148, Odessa, Texas, 79768. Once again, thank you to Alex Torres for taking the time to be on the show. You were really intense and really awesome. Special thanks to Tally Hall for letting me use their single Greener. Remember, go check them out on bandcamp.com. And of course, I got to thank Laura Hope and the Arctones. You guys have always been just really cool to me, really nice. Go check out their other music on bandcamp.com or iTunes or wherever you download your MP3s. But until the next show, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, I just want to wish you all lots of love, lots of sex, lots of happiness, and don't take any shit from anyone. Good night.
What do you mean it's last call? I just got here.